Volcano surfing is a sport in which an individual rides down an active volcano at speeds up to 50 miles per hour using nothing but a wooden board. When I first heard about this sport, I thought to myself, it must be nice to feel so safe you have to invent new ways to put yourself in danger. When the body thinks it may be swallowing its last breath, the adrenal gland releases hormones into the blood. The skin becomes a cocktail of sweat and fear. The heart becomes claustrophobic. It pounds against the chest like it needs to see what's on the other side. The lungs, they become two newlyweds holding hands in a crashing airplane. This is called an adrenaline rush. I was 18 when I started driving. My hands, 2 earthquakes trembling at 10 and 2, signaling every time I switched the lane, going 20 when the speed limit was 25. I still remember the first time I was pulled over. It was 2 a.m. on a Saturday. The officer, he spilled his lights all over my rearview mirror, spills out of his car with his hand already on his weapon, looks at me the way a tsunami looks at a beach house, and I can tell he's the kind of man who brings a gun to a food fight. He called me son, and I thought to myself, that's an interesting way of pronouncing boy. He asks for my license, registration, wants to know what I'm doing in this neighborhood, if the car is stolen, if I have any drugs, and most days I can grab my voice and swing it like a hammer, but instead I picked it up like a shard of glass, scared what might happen if I didn't hold on to it carefully, because I know that this much melanin, a smart mouth, that uniform is a plot line to a film that can easily end with a chalk outline baptism, me trying to make a body bag look stylish for the camera, and being the newest coat in a closet full of RIP hashtags. Once a friend of a friend asked me why there weren't more black people in the X Games, and I said, you don't get it. Being black is one of the most extreme sports in America. We don't need to invent new ways of risking our lives. The old ones have been working for decades. Watch the news, watch the news, watch the news. Jim Crow may have left the nest, but our streets are still covered in its feathers. Being black in America is realizing that there's a thin line between a traffic stop and the cemetery. It's the way my body tenses whenever I hear a police siren in a song. It's the quiver in my stomach whenever there's an officer behind me. It's the sigh of relief when I turn right and he doesn't. I don't need to go volcano surfing. Hell, I have an adrenaline rush every time a police officer drives past without pulling me over. And I realize tonight I'm gonna make it home safe. You know, it's funny how we can believe that we are created in God's image and then recreate God in ours. A letter to the man standing on the corner holding a sign that said, God hates gays. You know, I've never seen exactly who it is that you paperclip your knees, melt your hands together and pray to, but I think I know what he looks like. I bet your God's about 5'10". Bet he weighs 185. He probably stands the way a high school diploma does when it's next to a GED. I bet your God. Bet your God has a mullet. I bet he wears flannel shirts with no sleeves, a fanny pack, and says words like, get her done. I bet your God. Bet your God plays a banjo. I bet he watches Fox News, Dog the Bounty Hunter, voted for Donald Trump, and loves Bill O'Reilly. I bet your God's a politician from Arizona. I bet his high school served racism in the cafeteria and offered hate speech as a second language. I bet he has a swastika on the inside of his throat and racial slurs tattooed to his tongue just to make intolerance more comfortable in his mouth. I bet he has a burning cross as a middle finger and Jim Crow underneath his nails. Your God is a Confederate flag's wet dream, conceived on a day when the sky decided to slice her own wrist. I bet your God has a drinking problem. I bet he sees the bottom of a shot glass more often than his own children. I bet he pours whiskey on his dreams until they taste like good ideas. Probably cusses like an electric guitar with Tourette's plugged into an ocean. I bet he yells like a schizophrenic nail gun, damaging all things that care about him enough to get close. I bet there are angels in heaven with black eyes and broken halos who claim they fell down the stairs. I bet your God would have made Eve without a mouth and taught her how to spread her legs like a magazine that she will never be pretty enough to be in. Sooner or later, you'll realize that you are praying to your own shadow, that you are standing in front of mirrors and worshiping your own reflection. Your God stole my God's identity. So next time you bend your knees, next time you bow your head, I want you to tell your God that my God is looking for him. I was born on July 27th. That makes me a Leo. I don't really know what that means. I'm 5'6", I weigh 145 pounds, I don't know how to swim, and I'm a sucker for a girl with a nice smile and clean sneakers. I'm still learning how to whisper. I'm often loud in places where I should be quiet. I'm often quiet in places where I should be loud. I was born feet first, and I've been backwards ever since. I like ginger ale. A lot. I've been told that I give really bad hugs. People say it feels like I'm trying to escape. Sometimes it's because I am. Secretly, I get really nervous every time someone gets close enough to hear me breathe. I have this odd fascination with things like sandcastles and ice sculptures. I assume it's because I usually find myself dedicating time to things that will only last a few moments. That's also why I tend to fall in love with women who will never love me back. I know it sounds crazy, but it's actually much easier than it seems, and to be honest, I think it's safer that way. See, relationships, they often remind me that I'm not afraid of heights or falling, but I'm scared of what's gonna happen the moment that my body hits the ground. I'm clumsy. Yesterday, I tripped over my self-esteem. I landed on my pride, and it shattered like an iPhone with a broken face. Now, I can't even tell who's trying to give me a compliment. I've never been in the military, but I have this purple heart. I got it from beating myself up over things I can't fix. I know this sounds weird, but sometimes I wonder what my bed sheets say about me when I'm not around. I wonder what the curtains would do if they found out about all the things I've done behind their backs. I've got a hamper that's overflowing with really, really loud mistakes and a graveyard in my closet. I'm afraid that if I let you see my skeletons, you'll grind my bones into powder and get high on my fault lines.